And of course, Plato's not the only one who's written about it. There's many, many books written on it. There's a wonderful movie recently called The Golden Circle, I think. No, The Golden Compass. Wonderful. Have a look at that. That talks about an internal daemon that Socrates and Plato also talked about, which is a spirit that accompanies us to earth. And it contains the blueprint of our life, the potential blueprint, and also our passion and our calling. So David Hillman, a great, he was a Jungian analyst, he seems to have gone beyond that now. He wrote a book called The Soul's Code 10 years ago. It's a bestseller. If you can get it, read it. Fantastic work. And in there, he talks about the acorn theory. And the acorn theory, basically, you see the little acorn, tiny little thing, but in that acorn, within that acorn, is the blueprint for the oak tree. The mighty oak, huge tree, very good wood, great, fantastic tree. But having planted the acorn and grown the oak tree then throws out hundreds and thousands of other acorns. You see? Each one containing a blueprint for the next oak tree. So the original acorn you're looking at did not just contain the oak tree, it contained the tens of thousands of acorns that tree will grow in its lifetime, which is a blueprint for every other oak tree. That's the acorn theory in a nutshell. Yeah? And what Hillman is suggesting is that we come to Earth, every human being comes to Earth with a blueprint. We have a blueprint inside us. Again, it's very, very similar, and he talks about, in the book The Soul's Code, the myth of Earth, Plato's concept. We'll look at that later. Another great example that I love is the great Spanish bullfighter Manolete. As a boy, he was very, very shy, very withdrawn. The kids in the village in Spain, little country town, used to call him the ghost. He wouldn't come out to play. He wasn't boisterous. He wouldn't fight with the other children. He was timid at school. He used to stay away from school as much as he could. He hung around his mother all the time. He was known as a mummy's boy. When people came visiting at the house, he would get behind his mother. He would hide behind his mother. And the story has it that when people came in the door, he would hide behind his mother, at the age of 6 or 7, and he'd put his hands around her waist and hang onto her apron strings. So he was just very, very shy, very timid, not a very well boy. But what he did do, he'd go off by himself, and on the outskirts of that town, that was one of the towns that prepared bulls for the fighting, for the bullfights, for the ring. And some of the bulls who were not killed in the bullfights, and many of them survived, they were put out to pasture. Now they would not put them back into the ring unless they were desperate. It was known once a bull has been in the ring and fought, bulls learn very, very quickly. They learn the tricks very, very quickly. They realize the mistakes they made. They know the life's threatened. They've been stabbed by the toreadors and the picadors with the little darts. So they become highly aggressive, and they also know what's happening in the ring. So they don't put them back in a second time. They're killers by that stage. He used to go out, the young boy, when he was around 10 or 12, and he'd get into this ring, this old bull ring they have, a disused bull ring, where they kept some of the old bulls, and he'd get release one of the bulls where they would come out into the field, and he would fight the bull. He would go through all the motions. He'd bring an apron with him, one of his mother's cloths or aprons, and he'd fight the bull. He wouldn't spear it, but he would taunt the bull and stand there as the bull ran at him. So he was terrified at school. He was fearless in the bull ring. And what he didn't know, he was there by himself, so he thought. What he didn't know, there's some days there'd be an old man sitting up in the stand by himself, watching the young boy. What is called the mentor. And the mentor is somebody from mythology again, but very ever needed and ever present in our culture. Well, it's disappeared a lot in the last 100 to 200 years. The mentor is somebody who sees something in the young man or the young woman, recognizes the genius. In actual fact, they recognize the diamond in the individual. Yeah, they recognize the demonic impulse or potential in the individual. And he was drawn to watching the boy, and he realized watching the young boy that there was a grace and a beauty about him that he hadn't seen for many, many years. He went down to him one day, he spoke to him, talked to him. He said, "I'm going to train you to be a bullfighter." He was an old bullfighter himself, but he used to train bullfighters also. So he trained Manolete. Manolete, what they call the ghost, is the greatest bullfighter that Spain ever knew. When he was killed, he died in the ring. He was gored to death by a bull called Islero, huge black bull. And Manolete brought back some of the oldest traditions of Spanish bullfighting. He fought in what was known as the old way. And they'd stopped fighting that way because too many matadors were getting killed. But he instinctively went back to the old way of fighting. And he was so good at it, he was such a genius at it, the crowds just worshipped him. He had one particular movement, I've forgotten the name of the movement now, but he wouldn't move his feet. He would lure the bull on, the bull would charge, and he'd move his whole body, but he would not move his feet. He'd taunt the bull would rush at him, and he'd move his body in such a way the horns would just scrape down his side. When he was killed in the ring, as I said, he had a massive funeral. That was his diamond working. That was his calling. That was his purpose. That was his function in life. To bring joy, to bring enthusiasm, to bring passion to all those people in the ring, to wake people up that we can do this. We can have courage. We can live our lives with courage.